1 year ago, Saturday, a tornado tore through the north side of St. Louis, leaving a trail of destruction. The question tonight is not whether the government responded, because it did.
The question is whether it responded with everything it had. Tonight, our political editor, Mark Maxwell, is asking those questions.
Not much is natural about a disaster. The wreckage, the grief, the stress is enough to make most people want to leave it all behind.
If the population of St. Louis is in a bucket, we have a tornado-sized hole at the bottom of that bucket.
Not Cammie Thomas. She runs an art house called My Friends and I. After the tornado, she stopped making art and started making calls. She found someone who had been here before. Not here, but close enough.
When I look around here, it reminds me of some of the same problems that New Orleans had after Katrina.
Sarah Labowitz had just moved to Houston when Hurricane Harvey hit and found that somewhere in Washington there's money set aside for exactly this.
Even if your one homeowner on the block has all the money in the world and can rebuild their home, nobody wants to live on a block without neighbors.
Sure, there's FEMA money for homeowners, but what about the vacant buildings, the renters, the whole block? Now, as a disaster recovery researcher, Labowitz tracks those relief dollars. Katrina, Harvey, Sandy, all got billions. In St. Louis, none.
I saw the data and I saw that our St. Louis's bar was at zero. I thought the data was still loading. I was asking her, oh, where's our money? How much did we get? And she said, no, St. Louis got $0. That is right. You're looking at that right. So I was appalled and I was shocked.
You guys just don't have that program yet because Congress has to make a special appropriation for you to get access to that money.
It sounds like you're saying this is going to take an act of Congress.
Some of this stuff is going to take an act of Congress.
So I went to the members of Congress who represent this area.
New York got it after Sandy, Houston got it after Harvey, New Orleans got it after Katrina. What specifically have you done to get that money for St. Louis?
So our staff has been in contact with every single agency advocating for every penny that we can get. And so we'll continue to advocate for that.
House Democrat Wesley Bell and Senate Republican Eric Schmidt point to millions in FEMA funding for individuals and public assistance. Latest records show $147 million so far for this storm.
Everything that's been asked for, we have delivered.
But FEMA money has limits. What about the rest? Are there any other federal agencies with tools sitting on their shelves that nobody's bothered to pick up yet for St. Louis?
Well, FEMA's in charge of disaster relief and the disaster response, and FEMA has had its issues. There's no question about that.
I asked specifically about the HUD disaster funds. Congress hasn't made this specific appropriation since December of 2024. You're there in the U.S. Senate. You've got staff. You've got relationships. Has anyone in your office looked at this?
Well, first of all, probably important to point out that every disaster is different.
It's true, no two disasters are the same. Federal funding records show Missouri has been down this road before. Congress gave Joplin $110 million in HUD disaster funds, and Missouri got millions more, again in 2017, 2019, and 2022. But this time, nothing.
Did you know that HUD money was available? And if so, did you ever file a bill? Did you sponsor a resolution? Did you hold a press conference? Did you speak out on the House floor? Did you do anything to draw awareness to this HUD money?
So you're talking about one bucket of money when there are several buckets of money that can be distributed at any time. The problem is that they are distributed by the executive.
Bell acknowledged Congress has the authority to act, but argues the Republican majority and the White House have been unwilling to.
Why should any of this be acceptable to anyone in Congress?
Yeah, I mean, Congress has... We've seen just the pace of lawmaking in general slow down, and Congress hasn't made an appropriation for disaster recovery for this long-term housing program since December of 2024. And we have some really big disasters that have happened since then.
In the Show Me State, Cammie Thomas isn't asking for a miracle. She's asking Washington to show her something.
From a place of radical honesty, I would want to ask our officials, what have you asked for? How often have you asked for that? How often have you fought for that?
In North St. Louis, Mark Maxwell, 5 on your side.